C'est moi? Oui. Vous me voyez comme ça?
Perspective is essential to Portrait of a Lady on Fire, whether it be between the artist and the muse, women and men, or truth and memory. The many components and themes of the film are stitched together through the visual work Sciamma puts in to establish perspective.
C'est elle que vous verrez. Quand vous penserez à moi.
In order to see how she creates this visual grammar, let's begin by looking at the opening scene of the film. In this scene, all of the students are looking up at the object of attention, Marianne. Although this helps establish Marianne's role as the teacher, which is also implied in the dialogue, it primarily serves to make it clear that Marianne is in control of this scene. Moreover, Marianne is completely legible and she's emphatically framed by the curtains behind her. This shot is important because it is referenced when we see Eloise later on, but it also tells us a lot visually. By having Marianne framed this way, it further establishes that she is the object of focus. It is her that we are supposed to be looking at, and it is her that is directing us.
Qui a mis là ce tableau?
The further we progress into the scene, the more we see the value of the visual work Sciamma has built in. When we return to the shot of Marianne, she is brought even closer to the camera. Not only does this foreshadow the decision Sciamma is about to make with the upcoming zoom-in, it also reinforces the fact that Marianne's perspective is driving the scene. This visual work is especially important because Marianne then introduces the film's title and the audience to the story we're about to see.
Portrait de la jeune fille en feu.
Thus implying that the journey we are about to go on is from her perspective. By having the next scene begin with Marianne on the boat alone, Sciamma effectively underscores her previous work establishing Marianne's perspective. That being said, this doesn't mean that the entire film is told through Marianne's point of view. Sciamma's visual logic acts as a tool that allows her to flow between character perspective rather than being tied to one. It is for this reason that the film feels like it is being told from an omniscient point of view at times. In this scene when Marianne is painting Eloise, Sciamma's visual logic is clearly at play, although it begins with Eloise commanding the scene, as she is the one who is completely legible and is raised slightly above Marianne. Once they are in the frame together, however, the visual logic works to establish them as equals, because the kiss moves them both to the middle of the frame, thus allowing Sciamma to establish an equal or omniscient perspective in this moment. It is for this reason that when the narrative switches back to Marianne's perspective, it can feel very jarring, like in this moment, when Marianne sees Eloise's ghost. We know that this is Marianne's perspective for a couple of reasons. Marianne is either always alone in the frame, or she moves into it, ensuring that we're seeing this through her eyes. There are other things at work here too that make this kind of jarring, like the lighting and the decision to include Eloise's ghost at all, but certainly the visual logic plays a role too. Now that we understand how Sciamma creates a visual logic in the film, and how she uses it as a tool, we have to wonder why all this matters to the greater story being told. There are themes of memory and love that are clearly at play throughout the whole film, but perspective plays an essential role during the film's ending scene, which is foreshadowed here.
Elle lui adresse un adieu suprême, qui déjà ne peut qu'à peine parvenir jusqu'à ses oreilles, et elle retombe à l'abîme d'où elle sortait.
It would be easy to assume that this is about Marianne's goodbye. After all, she is the one who seems to be alone in the frame. She is the one that is narrating. She is the one that is leading us to Eloise. But if we take a closer look and apply the visual logic Sciamma created beforehand to these scenes, something else becomes clear. Even though Marianne says that Eloise can't see her, the visual logic forces us to consider a different perspective. We are left looking at Eloise, alone and in the center of the frame in the final shot of the film. Just as the film begins with Marianne alone and the camera zooming in on her, the film ends with Eloise instead. The perspective is hers. As Sciamma foreshadowed, Eloise speaks her last farewell. It scarcely reaches Marianne's ears, and she falls back into the abyss.